And there were men from mankind who sought refuge in men from the jinn, so they only increased them in burden. Surah al-Jinn 72:6. Have you ever wondered what lies beyond human sight? What if this world you see is only one layer of reality, and another moves silently alongside it? Could invisible beings walk among us, watching, listening, influencing moments we never question? Long before humans shaped cities and carved names into history, another creation already existed, aware, intelligent, accountable. They were not angels, and they were not human. They were the jinn. Created from smokeless fire, unseen yet present, free-willed yet bound by divine law, the jinn live in a realm that touches ours without fully revealing itself. Some worship Allah, some deny Him, and some rebel with a hatred older than humanity itself. On a night heavy with stillness, when even the wind seemed hesitant to move, the boundary between the seen and unseen grew thin. The desert lay silent under a sky crowded with stars. A lone traveler made his way across the sand, unaware that he was not alone. The air around him felt different, charged, alert, as though something unseen had awakened. From behind a jagged rock formation, a presence stirred. Not a shadow, not a sound, but awareness. He was not like the Shayateen who roam seeking corruption, nor was he among the angels who never disobey. He was a jinn, ancient, observant, burdened with choice. His form, unseen by human eyes, shimmered faintly like heat rising from flame. His essence carried memory, centuries of existence, moments of obedience, and moments of doubt. What happens when a being trapped between worlds faces a choice? Can a creature born from smokeless fire seek mercy like humans do? This jinn had listened before, listened to whispers of arrogance that promised power without submission. He had seen others fall, following Iblis in his rebellion, becoming Shayateen, devils whose sole purpose became misguiding humanity. But he had also witnessed something else, jinn who bowed, who believed, who feared Allah just as humans do. The Qur'an itself tells us this truth. And among us are the righteous, and among us are others not so. We were divided into different paths. Surah al-Jinn 72:11. Not all jinn are evil. Not all are enemies. Some pray in secret places where no human has ever knelt. Some recite the Qur'an in voices no human ear can hear, and some stand at a crossroads. This jinn had followed the traveler for reasons even he did not fully understand. There was no hunger for harm in him, no desire to possess or whisper corruption. Instead, there was curiosity, an ache that had grown stronger since the day he first heard words unlike any other, words of the Qur'an. Years earlier, hidden among a group of jinn near Mecca, he had listened as verses were recited in the stillness of night. The sound had shaken something deep within him. It was not poetry, it was not magic, it was truth, clear, commanding, merciful. That night had changed him, and now, standing close to a human once more, the weight of that memory returned. The traveler stopped suddenly. His heart raced for reasons he could not explain. A chill ran through him despite the heat of the desert. He felt watched, not by eyes, but by presence. Fear whispered, "Run." Faith whispered louder, "Say the name of Allah." Bismillah, the traveler breathed. At that single word, the unseen shifted. The jinn froze. He felt it instantly, the barrier, the protection, the authority of divine remembrance. This human was not unaware. This human was guarded. How powerful is a single word spoken with faith? How fragile do unseen beings become when confronted with remembrance of Allah? For the first time in centuries, the jinn felt exposed, not in form, but in intention. He could step back into the unseen and vanish forever, or he could remain, observe, and face the truth stirring within him. He chose to remain. From the darkness between moments, he watched as the traveler continued on, unaware of how close two worlds had come to colliding. Yet this encounter left a mark on both. One felt unease, the other felt awakening. This was no accident. Allah does nothing without wisdom, and this meeting, silent and unseen, was only the opening thread of something far greater. Because not all who listen obey, and not all who hesitate remain neutral. Elsewhere, forces older and darker had already taken notice. Shayateen, those who rejected mercy, had felt the shift. They sensed weakness, curiosity, and potential defiance within one of their own kind, and they would not allow it to grow unchecked. What forces were now set in motion beyond human awareness? What price would be demanded for choosing guidance over rebellion? And what would happen when the unseen no longer remained silent? Because this encounter was only the beginning, and the unseen was about to make itself known. The silence did not last. It never does when the unseen has been stirred. After that night in the desert, subtle changes began to ripple through the human world, small enough to dismiss, yet heavy enough to unsettle. Doors creaked without wind, lamps flickered though the flame was steady. Dreams became vivid, layered with meanings that lingered long after waking. And in the unseen realm, the jinn who had chosen not to retreat felt the weight of attention turned toward him. What dark secrets hide behind the whispers in the night? How does one fight an enemy unseen, yet deeply felt? The Shayateen had noticed. Unlike the jinn who live quietly, some in ruins, some in wilderness, some near humans, the Shayateen are restless. They move with purpose, feeding on fear, doubt, and disobedience. They are not a separate creation, but jinn who chose rebellion, following Iblis when he refused to bow to Adam. Their hatred is deliberate. Their methods are patient. Whispers came first, soft, persuasive, familiar. Why hesitate? You are powerful. Why lower yourself like humans do? The jinn felt the pull. He had heard such whispers before, centuries ago. Many had followed them, becoming something darker, something hollow. But now, the words of the Qur'an echoed louder within him than the whispers ever could. Meanwhile, the traveler returned home, believing the unease of that night had passed. Yet his household soon felt it too. A child woke screaming from sleep, eyes wide with terror at things no one else could see. A heaviness settled in certain rooms, thick and cold, as though joy avoided those spaces. Arguments flared without reason. Faith felt harder, concentration during prayer weaker. Was this coincidence, or had something followed him home? The Prophet, peace be upon him, warned humanity of such realities. Indeed, Shaitan flows through the human being like blood. Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih al-Muslim. Not always visible, not always dramatic, but always persistent. As nights passed, the unseen presence grew bolder, not the hesitant jinn, but others, darker, more aggressive. The Shayateen saw an opportunity, a human household unaware, vulnerable, questioning, and yet protection had already been placed. One evening, as fear peaked and despair threatened to settle, an elder of knowledge was called. He listened quietly, not mocking, not exaggerating. Then he said calmly, "This is not uncommon, but it is not unstoppable." Could the words of the Qur'an truly be stronger than forces born of fire? What happens when faith confronts fear? The elder began with remembrance. Ayat al-Kursi filled the air, firm, commanding, uncompromising. Allah, there is no deity except Him, the ever-living, the sustainer.
Surah Al-Baqarah 225. The atmosphere shifted. The unseen reacted. The Shayateen recoiled, burning with a pain no human could see. They hated these words, not because they were loud, but because they were true.
But unlike the Shayateen, he did not flee. He listened. Verse after verse, protection was recited. Surah Al-Falaq, Surah An-Nas, seeking refuge from the evil of creation, from whispers that retreat when Allah is remembered. For the first time, the jinn understood something deeply. Ruqya was not magic, it was authority. Authority granted by the Creator over all creation, seen and unseen. Humans reacted differently. Some laughed nervously, dismissing it as superstition. Others trembled, paralyzed by fear. But a few stood firm, hearts anchored in faith rather than panic. Those were the ones the Shayateen feared most. Still, the battle was not over. That night, betrayal crept closer than anyone expected. The hesitant jinn was approached again, but this time not with whispers, but with threat. Choose, they demanded. Stand with us or be crushed between worlds. The jinn realized the truth too late. Neutrality was no longer an option. Accept Islam fully, submit, and be hunted by his own kind, or retreat into rebellion and lose the mercy that had begun to reach his heart. And humans? They stood unknowingly at the center of this unseen war, armed not with weapons, but with remembrance. Just when hope seemed near, the atmosphere darkened once more. Something had changed. Something had crossed a line, and the unseen conflict was about to erupt into consequences that could no longer remain hidden. Who would emerge victorious in this battle of seen and unseen, and what price would be paid for the choice about to be made? The unseen does not rage forever. There comes a moment when divine command descends, and all creation, willing or unwilling, must submit. The night after the final confrontation was unlike the others. It was quieter, heavier, as though the world itself was waiting. The household gathered in a single room, hearts uneasy but resolved. Fear had not vanished, but something stronger had replaced it. Reliance. What power does true faith hold against the darkest of forces? How does mercy reach even those from the unseen realms? The elder returned, not with urgency, but with certainty. He reminded them gently, no jinn, no shaitan, no force in creation acts without Allah's permission. What terrifies humans is not the strength of the unseen, but their own forgetfulness. The Qur'an was recited again, not hurried, not desperate, but steady. Each verse fell like a decree. And we send down of the Qur'an that which is healing and mercy for the believers. Surah Al-Isra 1782. This time the reaction was immediate. The Shayateen screamed, not with sound, but with resistance. They could not remain where remembrance was constant. The words burned through deception, through arrogance, through every illusion of control they had built. They fled. But not all fled. The hesitant jinn remained. He stood at the edge of a decision that would define his existence. The threats of the Shayateen echoed behind him. The mercy of Allah stood before him. For centuries he had believed submission was loss. Now he understood it was release. Within the unseen, he lowered himself, not in form, but in will. He acknowledged what humans and angels already knew. Allah alone is worthy of worship. And in that moment, the chains that had never been visible fell away. The Qur'an speaks of such beings. And among us are Muslims, and among us are the unjust. And whoever has become Muslim, those have sought out the right course. Surah Al-Jinn 72, verse 14. Acceptance did not make him powerful, it made him protected. The Shayateen could no longer claim him. Their whispers lost authority. Their threats became empty. But justice still had to be served. The remaining rebellious forces were driven out, not by humans, but by divine decree. The house felt lighter. The air cleared. The child slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. Prayer returned with focus. Fear loosened its grip. Faith had confronted fear, and fear had retreated. Yet the resolution was not without lesson. The elder warned them, protection is not a one-time act. Shaitan retreats, but he does not forget. The Qur'an must remain present, not only in crisis, but in routine. Remembrance must be lived, not summoned only in desperation.
See how Allah describes His authority. Indeed, my servants, no authority will you have over them. Surah Al-Hijr 15:42. That promise extends to humans and jinn alike. As for the jinn who accepted guidance, his fate was not to linger among humans. His path now belonged fully to the unseen, under laws humans cannot comprehend. He departed, not as a shadow, not as a threat, but as a believer accountable to the same Lord. Others among the jinn faced a different outcome. Those who persisted in rebellion were restrained, scattered, or punished, each according to divine wisdom. Mercy was offered, not all accepted, because choice defines every creation with free will. In the days that followed, the household changed, not outwardly, but inwardly. Faith deepened, awareness sharpened. They understood now that the unseen is not meant to terrify, but to remind. The unseen exists not to dominate humans, but to test them. And humans are not helpless within it. As the dust settled, what profound truths were revealed to the believers? That protection lies not in rituals without heart, but in remembrance with sincerity. That Shayateen thrive on fear, but collapse before certainty. That jinn, like humans, are not one story, but many paths. And that Allah's mercy reaches further than imagination, into worlds we cannot see, to beings we barely understand. So, how can we protect ourselves in a world where the unseen is ever present? By remembering who truly holds power, by anchoring our lives in the Qur'an before fear ever knocks, by knowing that no whisper is stronger than truth, and by trusting that even when we cannot see the battle, Allah has already decreed its outcome. What timeless wisdom can we draw from tales of the jinn? Why has Allah revealed their existence to us, not in detail, not in spectacle, but in measured truth? And why in every age are humans reminded that the unseen is real, present, and deeply connected to our faith? Islam does not reveal the unseen to frighten hearts. It reveals it to anchor them. The story of the jinn is not a fantasy hidden in ancient scripture. It is a reminder that Allah's creation is vast and that accountability is universal. Just as humans are tested with ease and hardship, belief and doubt, so too are the jinn. The Qur'an speaks to them directly, records their words, and holds them responsible. Say, it has been revealed to me that a group of the jinn listened and said, indeed, we have heard a wondrous Qur'an. Surah Al-Jinn 72:1. This alone should reshape how we think. Jinn are not myths, they are listeners. They are believers and disbelievers. They are accountable. And most importantly, they are not to be sought, summoned, or trusted. One of the greatest dangers facing Muslims today is not ignorance of the unseen, but fascination with it. Black magic, Fortune-telling, spirit communication, and occult practices promise power, knowledge, or control. In reality, they offer only deception. The Prophet ﷺ warned clearly, "Whoever goes to a fortune teller or a soothsayer and believes what he says has disbelieved in what was revealed to Muhammad." Musnad Ahmad, Sunan Abu Dawud. Why such a severe warning? Because seeking help from Shayateen always comes at a cost. They do not give freely. They demand loyalty, secrecy, and gradual disobedience. What begins as curiosity ends in dependence. The believer's relationship with the unseen must be one of boundaries, not exploration. Islam teaches protection, not engagement. So how does a Muslim protect themselves in a world where the unseen is ever present? The answer is simple, but not shallow. First, consistency in remembrance. Not panic-driven recitation, not emergency faith, but daily remembrance that builds an invisible fortress around the heart and home. The Prophet ﷺ taught that whoever recites Ayat al-Kursi before sleeping will be protected by Allah, and no shaitan will approach until morning. Surah al-Falaq and Surah an-Nas were revealed specifically as protection, not from physical harm alone, but from whispers, envy, and unseen attacks. Second, a home where Qur'an is alive, not merely placed on shelves, not played only for background sound, but recited, understood, respected. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Do not make your houses like graves. Indeed, shaitan flees from a house in which Surah al-Baqarah is recited." Sahih Muslim. Where Qur'an lives, shaitan suffocates. Third, awareness without obsession. Islam does not ask believers to deny the unseen, but it forbids obsession with it. Excessive fear weakens faith just as much as denial does. The Shayateen thrive in extremes. Balanced faith terrifies them. Fourth, understanding that strength lies in obedience, not control. Humans were never meant to command the unseen. They were meant to trust the one who commands everything. Even the most rebellious shaitan cannot move without Allah's permission. Even the most powerful jinn cannot harm a believer protected by sincere faith except by divine decree. And divine decree is never random. Finally, the greatest lesson this story offers is one often overlooked. Guidance is not exclusive to humans. Allah's mercy reaches where we do not look. The jinn who chose Islam did not become human. He did not become angelic. He simply submitted. And submission, not form, is what Allah values. That should humble us. If a being made of smokeless fire can bow in obedience, what excuse remains for those made from earth? In a world full of seen and unseen challenges, what steps can we take to shield our hearts and souls? Return to sincerity. Return to remembrance. Return to trust. Because darkness is loud but temporary, and divine light is quiet but absolute. Let this story not make you fearful of the unseen. Let it make you confident in the one who created it. For when hearts are anchored in Allah, no whisper can overpower truth, no shadow can eclipse light, and no unseen force can overcome a believer protected by faith. And Allah knows best.